But I choose to walk in the spirit. It's difficult dealing with all of the ignorance. But in the Bible, it's still talking about the Bible. What is the benefit? Everything about you counterfeit. There ain't no rebuttal you can counter with. On the internet, you the master teacher. In real life, you powerless. Keep it real with you, I don't have time for this. I ride for this, my forefathers died for this. They cry for this opportunity, presently I possess, and right now you are the opposite. If you walk in love, you fulfill the law. Don't get involved and you ain't giving it all. If you ever think it's cool to threaten another man's family, then you already lost. Chemtrails got aluminum, heavy metal saturate the atmosphere. Manhattan Project, time travel, Mandela effect, what happened here? GMO food processing to the whole world become obsolete. A black man who believes in Jesus got my own team taking shots at me. You trespassing on property that you don't fully understand properly. All the back and forth, that's not for me, that's for ROC and the war machine. If we ride together, then we ride together. If we can't do it, I'd rather leave. I still stand on the word of God till the day I die and no longer breathe. We trapped inside the diaspora, nightmares of the massacre. Cold sweat, I'm below deck in the middle passage, just a passenger. Revolutionary hardcore, liberation, that's a hard job. You ain't ready, you an oddball. Keep your mouth closed like lockjaw. I learned trying to bring people together on the same page, make them separate. All the talk about reconciliation, when the time comes, you hesitate. If Jesus was able to sit at the table with a bunch of sinners, you very fake. Your steps ordered by the Lord, and how it was yesterday, your big mistake. We the city sitting on the hill. Guess it all depends on how you live. Guess it all depends on how you feel, and we both know that ain't God's will. I stood on what I felt was right. I don't never question if God's real. Trapped inside this matrix, I'm about to pop the red and the blue pill.
Bless them which persecute you. Bless and curse not. Rejoice with them that do rejoice, and weep with them that weep. Be of the same mind one toward another. Mind not high things, but condescend to men of low estate. Be not wise in your own conceits. Recompense to no man evil for evil. Provide things honest in the sight of all men. If it be possible, as much as lieth in you, live peaceably with all men. Dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves, but rather give place unto wrath. For it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, said the Lord. Therefore, if thine enemy hunger, feed him. If he thirst, give him drink. For in so doing thou shalt heap coals of fire on his head. Be not overcome of evil, but overcome evil with good. Romans 12:14-21.
You're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not Manny. I am Peyton Manning level, I'm on GOAT status. I think I'm the baddest mother lover ever walk on this planet. Damn it, you could never see me, you could never beat me, you could never be me, disrespect me, and I'm eating all of your pizza. I know I'm not right, I know I'm not white, I know I'm gon' call the popo on you if you hit me. I don't fight, I'm a rapper, I don't write. Rio, you got all that hype, that's the stuff that I don't like. Why you laughing at my height? I wish I could slap your face. You just think you're so amazing, you just think that you're the greatest. Why you fucking Tom Brady? I am Peyton Manning, end of conversation. You just hating, I am Peyton Manning, say it. I am Peyton Manning, say it. No, Dibble God playing, that's a Drake line. Beat the midget up, that's a hate crime. 8 towns on 3 game time. Got the trunk knocking from the baseline. I'm all about the money, baby, crocker cake time. Chopsticks on deck, no Shanghai. 4-5, you come to my waistline. Keep the 4-5 tip by my waistline. You soft in the middle like fruit pie. I know it hard for you to walk a straight line. You wouldn't throw trays in the food fight. That's what I heard through the grapevine. I know you don't mind wasting your time. I would just prefer you didn't waste mine. You gon' get what coming to you in due time. Little pussycat running from the K9. You're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny. category mandatory for me to tell you that you were very boring. And the moral of the story, I wish I could just ignore you, but they gotta burn your body, put you in the crematorium. And I'm the only audio inside the auditorium. And when I'm finished with you, you will not have no memorial. You wanna be Luigi, but you're not ready for Mario. And no scenario, running circles around your cardio. And that's a body blow, it's not a secret. Everybody know that you ain't coming close. I leave you comatose, and you become a ghost. I overdose, I gotta overload. That's when the windows of heaven open up for me with the overflow. And I can feel the power moving within every last chromosome. Battle right around the corner, you already know it's on. Understand me, you're not Peyton Manning, you're not Peyton Manning. Woo!
Come on, Abu. You seen the I know you made a post earlier.
Well,
I don't know if you saw everything with Pastor Kelly post. Go ahead, you got the
yeah.
mic.
The fascinating thing is the context behind this whole fiasco, right? Because this has honestly been hair splitting. Even though 4 hours was devoted to it, it was hair splitting. Like saying, oh, it says mandingos, but no, it actually says the people who cohabitated amongst them. It's just it's very strange. Like even if you're going to accuse a person of misreading a source, to accuse them of lying. Because, you know, for those people in the chat when the show first started who were saying, no, it's just referring to mandingos, those people themselves were misreading the source. But what's interesting is the context of this whole this segue, this controversy over Garfield, and what it was. And people are going to think I'm changing the subject, but this really is the context. Orthodox Moore has been doing a number of incredible shows, and I recommend people check out his channel, Orthodox Moore, on the methodologies that were employed by Kelly and Brown and Benaya for determining language on the pews. And Kelly was apparently somewhat upset about that. And so
I got a post from, I'm sorry, whilst you're talking, I want people to know I got a post up here from your page.
Yeah, that's
Here's
my
the latest. All right, I got
video.
it. So I don't know if you're on the phone in front of the computer, but I got it up. I gather you might get into some of this right here. Go ahead.
And Bareen, real quick, I put the source to his book here. So if Sister E come back on, she can look in here and go herself. She ain't got to rely on me or Garfield.
Where you put it?
I put it in our private chat. So if she come back on your panel, she can click on it and go to page 29 and she can read for herself.
Okay. Go ahead, Abu.
So as I was saying, so the Orthodox Moore has been doing a number of incredible videos on the methodological consistency when trying to determine a language on the pews. And Kelly was somewhat upset about this, apparently. He didn't like what Orthodox Moore was doing. So the video that he put out, in a sense, was addressing Orthodox Moore. And
Orthodox Moore, another Israelite, correct?
Exactly. And so he's in a mildly similar to the situation with Issachar, right? Because Kelly Richardson was upset with Issachar because Issachar asked people to focus on the pews. And what Kelly Richardson did is he didn't.
Now, who's Issachar? Explain that for people. Who's that now?
Issachar was that gentleman who you played, I think it was back on the 4th or not too long ago. You did a video where you showed him. He's a gentleman with
another Israelite.
Head. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And he had also focused on the pews. And so Kelly Richardson did a bunch of videos on him, never addressed any of the points he brought up. He's angry that Issachar brings up the pews, doesn't address any of his points on the pews, and instead gets into like what word he uses for God, accuses him of all kinds of, theologically controversial positions and stuff like that, but never gets to the pews, right? So fast forward to this past week or so, Orthodox Moore now has been getting into the methodological questions on the pews. And predictably, Kelly comes out with a video responding. And that's, by the way, when you were playing that stuff, you notice how while he's talking about Garfield, he's jabbing at Moors. He's talking about, the Moors are sellouts and the Moors were involved in the slave trade and all this kind of stuff. He was doing that because with the way the video was set up, he never mentions Orthodox Moore explicitly, but he accuses Moore of being in league with an unnamed Catholic and an atheist. And then he says, basically, I'm going to show what liars they are. And then he proceeds to go on to this off-topic, hair-splitting objection to Garfield. So it was to subtly imply that somehow because Moore has questioned Kelly's methodology on the pews, now he's going to accuse Moore and Garfield of being in some sort of an alliance. And then somehow this sort of hair-splitting jab at Garfield is supposed to swing back and reflect negatively on Moore somehow. It was a convoluted video, and a really bad line of reasoning. But I wanted to make sure that the context and the background to it was clear. This sort of hair-splitting thing over how Garfield used the sources, it really amounts to arm flailing as a way to distract from these videos by more that he was upset about. That's the honest truth.
All right, Galthy, did you know all of this stuff, Garfield? Let me ask you one question, Abu. In the presence of everybody, you Catholic Jesuit, let me tell you something right now. I hope you ain't go messing with them black folk over there in that church. Did you email? Did you bother? Don't bother them people.
I'm not, even though they tried to invite me to do so. No, guys like Shy and them would say, "Oh, just reach out." I have not emailed them. I didn't email them when they had Arabic on their website. My position in 2019 is the same as my position today. No matter what language the website claims is on the pews, we would hope that the proponents of that view, whether it be Arabic or something else, show the grounds on which how they reach that conclusion. If no argument is presented, then at the very least, people should understand if others are skeptical. Ironically, Kelly agreed with this approach back when they had Arabic on the website. He himself was saying basically that just because the website says Arabic doesn't mean Arabic actually appears on the pews. They need to present their case. That was what Kelly was saying. And I agreed with him then. The difference is I apply that to all languages. It seems like he doesn't. But no, I'm not bothering the church. I didn't bother them when they had Arabic on there. I'm not bothering them now. I'm just stating my piece, if people ask. That's all.
Okay, all right, thank you. Let me ask y'all, do y'all think I don't know what I don't know if he's on some quest right now, but do y'all think Orthodox more? You think everybody should just drop all of the stuff? I'm at 200 people in here. I'm asking everybody in here.
I don't.
Do y'all think that the whole thing should be dropped? The church, the pew,
no,
and just act like nothing never ever happened and just move on to other deeper things?
Well, people should look at the subjects that interest them.
Titus 2 and 3 tell us don't even deal with these foolish questions and these.
I want everybody. What are the I want everybody to. All right, that's what Russell got to say. All right.
Can I say one thing about a comment in there? Shari Anayas. She said
about her research thing.
Yeah, the young lady. Yes, she has a lot of interesting videos. She said to check out her videos on research. It's a great starting point. So I definitely co-sign that. Check out her videos. Check out her points about properly, the very basics of just beginning to approach an argument properly and avoiding all these appeals to emotion and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, very good. All right, 93. What do you?
First of all,
okay, go ahead.
For anybody, you see, when Richard Katz stuff came out, I still don't have a concluding moment on that yet with Richard Katz.
You're not.
I haven't heard them. I don't know if I should have brought it up or not, but I haven't heard Kelly said it's not. There's no Richard Katz. I haven't heard the guy who came out with it with the fake emails. I haven't heard him come out and say anything yet. So for them now to come out and say Garfield is switching up sources when basically the source is there on the screen with a summary at the top, on the top right. That's all it is a summary. So what's the problem? What is really the problem here? These are the same people that fake Richard Katz and go back and forth and change up emails and change up and use the same and still saying that Richard Katz is real. Same people.
But this is my thing. Maybe we should just drop the Katz. They changed the pews back so everything is back to where it was originally. Because originally that's what the pew said in the beginning, right? Where's the E at?
No,
originally that's what it was in the beginning. So everything is back to what it was 3 years ago.
Well, in a sense, I could give you the short history is this on claims about the pews. And I have a couple of videos on this. In the 70s, they were calling
Hold on, Sister E. Go ahead. I'm going to put the link back in there. Go ahead. While you talking, she can hear. Keep your phone on so you can hear everything that's going. Go ahead. Go ahead, Boo.
In the 70s, the claim was that the markings are drawings and forgive me, these are not my words. This is a witness to what was, to what it was like in the 70s. Used this phrase, quote unquote, African scribble scrabble. That's what was being claimed. Then as time went on, they started saying they were tribal markings without specifying what they were. Somewhere within the first decade of the 2000s, the claim of Hebrew arose, and then that got put on the website. At some other point, the claim of Arabic also arose, apparently in the first decade of the 2000s, and then that was put on the website. And now it's been when they put Arabic on, they removed explicit reference to Hebrew. Now they've removed explicit reference to Arabic. And it says Hebrew, Aramaic, and Amharic. But so far, honestly, none of these declarations have significant arguments, tangible arguments behind them. So at the very least, nobody's saying go bother the church, but at the very least, one should understand if one is skeptical, whether about Arabic or Aramaic or Amharic. But the point is, the claim of Hebrew on the pews, and so too the claim of Arabic on the pews, are relatively new innovations. They've come about roughly in the last decade and a half or so. And that's where the evidence points.
Peace, peace, peace. What it is, it's Brother Tyvon Swinham, aka the Orthodox Moor, aka the Seven Pillar Service, aka Brother Moore. And this evening, I was gonna address a whole bunch of different claims and whatnot because, as you can hear in that previous clip, there's been a number of episodes where I've been called a blatant liar. And associated with unholy alliance with Catholics and atheists, aligned against the Israelite community, etc., etc., etc. All because I have the nerve and gall to have my own opinion and to defend myself. So I'm the type of person who likes to address like everything all at once. But instead of doing that, I'm just going to address something really simple. And I'm going to do this thing in like a backwards kind of an order. For everyone who's been keeping up, everyone knows what time it is. There's been 4 very predictable episodes of a Crafty Council playbook entitled Blatant Liars, etc. And in each episode, as Abu pointed out, the point thereof is to associate myself with Abu and with Garfield against the Israelite community concerning the pews, which is nothing more than laughable. Nothing more than laughable. It's sad that things have come to this point. Because with everybody involved, with Pastor Kelly, I got his phone number. We've had many good conversations. He stopped contact with me, not the other way around. And it was over nothing that I did. Absolutely nothing that I did. And if Pastor Kelly would like to prove something to the contrary, please let it be known. Please let it be known. B'nai Israel, same thing. I interviewed B'nai Israel. I actually went on Garfield's show a year ago and defended Hebrew being on the pews and defended B'nai Israel in his own information about the people at First African Baptist Church self-identifying as Israelites. This is documented. This is on wax. You can see this on my channel. No one else involved has done that. So my reward for defending said people is to be accused by said people for attacking the entire Israelite community. For what? This part I'm still trying to figure out. For what? There's been this false dichotomy, false argument proposed to the people, which is fallacious on its face, about the pews either have to be cursive Hebrew, and there's multiple false dichotomies. First of all, that the cursive Hebrew has to be soletreo, that there's only one form of cursive Hebrew, which is ridiculous, which is utterly ridiculous. Or 2, there's the other false dichotomy of it has to be either cursive Hebrew or Arabic. Now, why is this ridiculous? This is ridiculous because if you look at every argument from all sides, right? You look at the information that Anonymous and I put forth. Anonymous Hebrew, someone else who went down to the church, took pictures of the church, or took pictures of the pews. Actually, Anonymous Hebrew has supplied more public pictures of the pews than anybody involved. First and foremost, he went down to the church in August of 2019, did the tour, and supplied more public pictures than anybody involved. Benaya, Majors, Kelly, all of them were involved in a documentary that talked about the church. You know how many pews were shown in the documentary? 4. 4. Anonymous supplied the public with 14. For free. Anonymous came out and said, yeah, I see cursive Hebrew. Neither one of us said Solatreo, and we gave our reasons for why. And this is the part that's ridiculous, family. Over a year ago, and this is documentable, Pastor Kelly and I were talking about doing an interview about the pews. I begged him to focus on the Ethiopian side of the argument, the Ethiopian aspect of the church. Instead of doing that, he went on a detour with Benaya and with Majors to do a counter narrative story on the PBS documentary that concerned the church. Now, the purpose of this still escapes me. I'll never understand. And I want everybody to hear me. The purpose of this escapes me. Because a little less than a year ago, I interviewed Abu. Abu's public position has been and consistently been that he does not believe there is any intelligible language on the pews. And then gave a hypothetical case for Arabic, proposing this is how one should go about trying to prove a language or whatnot. He gave a hypothetical for Surah 114, Ayat 3 from the Quran. The phrase, Ilah nas, God of humanity, God of mankind, God of the people. So, in the interview, I asked Abu, if there is Arabic on the pews, does that rule out Hebrew being written in the Arabic, knowing that in West Africa, Arabic was used to write multiple languages? Also, like the source that Dante brought out, shout out to Dante, that like in places like southern Nigeria, they were using a mix of Maghrebi Arabic, Hebrew, and Patois. So I asked Abu this question, and Abu's like, no, I can't, no, that can't be ruled out. That cannot be ruled out. So at this juncture, I want everybody to slow down and hear this. Abu's admitting that even if there is Arabic on the pews, that Arabic could be used to write Hebrew. And so Hebrew can't be ruled out. So instantaneously, if Arabic gets proven, now we can't rule out Hebrew. Abu will tell you that he kind of scholastically painted himself into a corner because he did something not a lot of people have the courage to do. He falsified his own position. He reached out to multiple scholars about Arabic. And you know what? High-level scholars, they got back at him and said, you know what, That's very possible. One of them was like the highest level scholar that he reached out to was like, no, that's definitely Arabic, definitely not Hebrew. Somebody who's proficient in both Hebrew and Arabic said, no, it's definitely not Hebrew, definitely Arabic. And it's definitely Surah 114 ayat 3. So up until this point, when I have this interview with Abu, nobody's claiming Arabic on the pews. Nobody. Abu then asked me, what do you think is on the pews? And I said, that one pew or all of them? And so we go through the one pew, then we go through the rest of them. I say on that one pew, I do think it is Arabic. I do think it is Surah 114 ayat 3. And then I say on the rest of the pews, I think they need to be taken on a case-by-case basis. Because my public position has and always been that I believe there's multiple African scripts on those pews. And that we need to take them by a case-by-case basis to see what's on them. And that those pews are a treasure trove, a national treasure for anybody who descends from the slave trade. Anybody who's kept up with my channel knows that I've been focusing a lot on the East African side of the slave trade, as well as connecting Israelites to the West African side of the slave trade. And that church is phenomenal in the sense to where you see all sides of the slave trade going through one spot. Going through one spot. And what's even more fascinating is there is an extremely large Ethiopian influence on the church in its earlier parts of the church. Like I've shown in previous presentations, Anonymous, when he went on the tour, he took pictures of the stained glass windows. And on the windows, he was told on the tour that there was Ethiopic crosses, etc. And you could actually see the graduation from Ethiopic crosses to like a more modern Protestant cross, right? Like a Western European type of cross. And so like at the beginning of the church, there was more like an Ethiopic kind of a vibe, and then it kind of evolved. And so even Abu, upon hearing this, had to acknowledge the connection. Like he was like, like he lived. So when you have someone like Dr. Ephraim Isaac saying that there's potential Ge'ez on the pews, but then you're also seeing an Ethiopic connection through crosses or whatnot, etc. That's nothing to sneeze. That you can't sneeze at that. Not to mention, it's documentable that over 500,000 slaves came over from the eastern ports of Mozambique and Madagascar. So there's a really real potential for an Ethiopic connection along with the Limba, etc. Which is why I begged Kelly to focus on the Ethiopic aspect of the church. You're gonna hear him do it now. I promise you, in his new Road to Savannah episode, he's gonna talk about the original name of the church. The original name of the church, which involves the name Ethiopia. Now, all this could have been brought out a long time ago. All this could have been brought out a long time ago. But it wasn't. And it wasn't so there could so a defense could be made where there was no need to make a defense. The PBS documentary had to be discredited because Boubacar Diakite, an African man from Mali, I'm assuming some would even claim they think he's an Israelite. He comes through on the PBS documentary and stipulates that he sees an Arabic type of writing on the pews. An Arabic type of writing. and stipulates that it might not have even been made by Muslims, that they could have been Christians who made the Arabic type of writing on the pews. Very big deal. The West African Muslim came through and broke down for the people. They might not have been Muslim people who wrote that down. Why is that important to understand? It's important to understand because Arabic was the lingua franca of West Africa at the time. Just like English is our lingua franca. Like when we go to school, we learn English. In West Africa at the time, if you went to school, you learned Arabic. I've documented on my channel a book, Servants of Allah, by Sylvian Diouf, where she breaks down at least 24 different instances of Arabic being found amongst African slaves in the Americas. And there's instances to where they're not Muslim people. And they're writing multiple languages, including the Gullah language, including Christian texts like the Gospel of John in the Gullah language with Arabic script in Savannah, Georgia in 1844. Over a decade before the church is built. Why is that significant? That's significant to understand because Arabic does not necessarily mean Muslim. There's people like Omar ibn Said who had a Bible in Arabic and cherished it. Stopped praying Al-Fatiha and started praying the Lord's Prayer from the Bible and cherished it. So I sit here perplexed that for a year, this nonsense argument has gone on about either Hebrew or Arabic, when there's been people who said both in our community, like myself and like Anonymous Hebrew, who believe that there's not only both on the pews, but also the concept of a trade language. Just like the source Dante brought out, just like the tour guide was talking about with Anonymous Hebrew, just like people like I think Amir Muhammad, who was on Major's show, when he was talking about, like, originally they were talking about the pews were talked about as African scribble scrabble. He talked about the concept of Hebrew and Arabic being mixed and whatnot. When you go on Kelly's channel, right? He shows somebody giving a tour, right? He says something that is literally a mix of Hebrew and Arabic. He says, Assalamu alaikum. Throwing the A right in front of the shalom. That's 100% Arabic. And what's interesting is amongst the Arabic that we find written in the Low Country, amongst the Muslims of the Low Country, in Georgia, we actually find potential evidence of that trade language. And I'll break that down on a future video because that'll make this one way too long. Way too long. So fast forward, there's been a year-long fight to disprove PBS when PBS was not ruling out Arabic or not ruling out Hebrew. When PBS wasn't saying that anybody was a Muslim. In fact, they said the opposite, that they might not be Muslim. They could be Christian themselves. Of which we find plenty of proof of, to where we have people of a Muslim background who accept the New Testament and still write Arabic. Plenty of proof of such. So if that's the case, what are we fighting for, fam? What's the beef over? What's the beef over? I'm gonna submit to everyone right now. It's either over a lack of information or it's over a lack of integrity. One of the two. It's either over a lack of information or a lack of integrity. One of the two. So I'm gonna choose to believe that it's because of a lack of information. I'm going to choose to believe that Benaiah, Majors, and Kelly have a higher level of integrity than one could potentially mistake right now. So I'm going to spend some time really trying to slow this thing down and explain why leaving Arabic out of all the Semitic languages that people are talking about being on the pews is a major mistake and why it's extremely important. Right now, we're having arguments with people like Garfield in the community. Like, can we prove anybody came off the slave ship with an Israelite tradition, etc.? I just showed a portion on my channel, a portion of a conversation that was on that we just had on Garfield's channel where it got deleted. Garfield took it down. I put up what I could get. I got up 85% of the conversation that was on there. And we were getting into people like the B'nai Israel, etc. Who were people who are currently in West Africa. And I started talking to him about like, yeah. So I believe I can document people writing in their own language, coming off the slave ships, speaking about their Israelite traditions. I can document this. But check this out, family. It's in Arabic. It's in Arabic. Is that a problem now? Does that mean I can't show it? Does that mean I can't use it to document the story that everyone else is struggling to document right now? Reaching to document? I'm over here banging my head against the wall because I'm watching my people reach right now. Reach to make themselves. So check this out. Do I believe some of us descend from Portuguese Jews? Most definitely. Do I think the majority of us do? No, not at all. Do I think that the Jews of Mikveh Israel in Savannah, Georgia, the Jews that like the Sheftals in them, like the Nunez family, etc. Do I think that they were black Jews? No. No way, shape, or form. Do I believe it's more plausible to believe that an Ashkenazi mulatto, and listen to this, an Ashkenazi mulatto taught the slaves of First African Baptist Church a Sephardic form of cursive Hebrew that the Sephardic people of the area weren't even using themselves? No, I don't think that's very plausible. And because I don't think that's very plausible, I'm being vilified left, right, and center. Because I think it's more plausible to look for Hebrew either in Arabic, a Judeo-Arabic, or a West African form of Hebrew, I'm being vilified. Someone has to explain to me where this makes sense. So typically I would have my hand on the quiver, ready to pluck and draw when my integrity gets called out this many times without any shred of evidence whatsoever. Typically, I would have my hand on the quiver ready to pluck and draw. But I'm going to treat my brothers the way I would want to be treated. I would, in this situation, I would hope someone would pity me and choose to believe that I have a lack of information and not a lack of integrity. So what I'm going to do is choose to believe that they have a lack of information and not a lack of integrity. And I'm going to consistently put out correct information. Is this an attack on anybody? No. I'm going to clear the air. I'm saying right now, I forgive all three of my brothers for falsely accusing me of things like doxing Professor Youssef. I publicly say I forgive all three of them for this. And instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite you to better information and to expand your consciousness as to what is possible to understand through First African Baptist Church. If you include Arabic amongst all the other Semitic languages that you're saying is there. So if it can't be scholastically proven, then I'm saying leave it out. If it can be scholastically proven, I'm saying there's no reason to not to accept it. Now, here's the issue. The last words that Kelly told me on the phone, the last words he told me were, you're not going to tell me there's a Quran verse on those pews in that church. You're not going to tell me there's a Quran verse on those pews in that church. So that's not the view of a proper skeptic, fam. That's the view of somebody who has a really extreme bias to this thing. Because the simple question is, well, why can't there be a Quran verse in that church? Why can't? Help me understand the argument. And the argument, and I'm going to say this with all due respect to all three of my brothers, the argument has been laughable at best. I'm supposed to believe Muslims didn't come over on the slave trade, when scholars will tell you up to potentially 30% of the slaves were Muslims. I'm supposed to believe that a literate slave, a literate Muslim slave in Arabic, or a literate slave in Arabic, period, is something that's few and far between. When there's hundreds of pages of Arabic from slaves. Hundreds of pages. Very well documented. And particularly, like many of the people we come from, the Fulani, the Mandinka, etc., were extremely literate. In fact, West Africa was very literate. You'll be hard pressed to find like a Mandinka or Fulani who's not literate in history in America. You're going to be hard pressed to find a documented Fulani or Mandinka who's not literate in Arabic. And again, they don't have to be Muslim, much like the Muslim or the Mandingo who wrote the Gospel of John in Gullah in the Arabic script, London. He was Mandingo and literate in Arabic. Bilali Muhammad, Sapelo Island in Georgia. He's literate in Arabic. And his Arabic shows overlapping principles to Arabic found in Haiti, to where there's letters that switch and change. Almost like what you would expect to see in a trade language between Hebrew and Arabic. So if I see it amongst one person, maybe they just have really bad Arabic. When I see it amongst more than one person, maybe they meant to do it on purpose. So if almost potentially up to 30% of the slaves that came over were Muslim, and of them, the majority of them are going to be literate in Arabic. And we have sources stipulating that in West Africa, we see people mixing Maghrebi Arabic, Hebrew, and Patois. Why would we rule out Arabic from a trade language? And I really don't get this. We're talking about people who are a lot of these people are claiming to descend from Moors and people from Spain and Portugal and whatnot. Okay, guess what they were speaking in Spain and Portugal? Guess what they were reading and writing in Spain and Portugal? Even the Israelites, fam. The Israelites were translating things in and out of Arabic all day long. They're using Judeo-Arabic all day. They're using trade languages like Multi-Arabic all day. Israelites using Arabic in a trade language is not unheard of in any way, shape, or form. It's happening all over North Africa. It's happening all over Spain. Why wouldn't it happen in West Africa? If there's Israelites there, why wouldn't it happen? Why would it not happen there? Why would West Africa be the only place that doesn't have a Judeo-Arabic in the Islamic world? If someone's going to make that argument, just break it down. I would love to. I'm all ears. All ears, no mouth. Trust me. All ears, no mouth. All ears, no mouth. And again, if there's a legit gripe as to some information I brought out, I'm all ears, no mouth as well, because I want my information checked in front of the people, because I'm bringing that out in front of the people. My info needs to be vetted, like everybody's info needs to be vetted, because we owe that to the people. We owe that to our critics, and we owe that to the people in our community. Because giving the same information to both, sound and credible information, is how our people walk down the street with respect, safely. So I'm not going to apologize for holding Christians accountable, and I'm not going to apologize for holding Israelites accountable. And I'm definitely not going to apologize for defending myself when people are unfairly accusing me of some very heinous things with not a shred of evidence. Not a shred of evidence. That right there is why I took my hand off the quiver. Typically, when people try to, try to come at me with some kind of proof, I'm ready to attack the argument all day long. This is a very rare situation for me where I'm seeing people come with no proof at all, just allegations and speculation. When I see that, I see a lot of fear. And when I see fear, I know it's not the same situation I thought it was. It's not a fight, right? Somebody's having an emotional reaction. So I can hear people talking about like, well, oh, this is my family heritage. Cool, got you. I've also heard the same people say this is all of our ancestors' heritage, which I agree with. 100%. And talking to Kelly, I let him know, yeah, I got family that come from the Carolinas and in Georgia as well. He tried to throw the whole thing on me like, oh, we might be cousins or whatnot. I was like, we might. But I know for a fact I come from freshwater Geechee people in Alabama that descend from the coast, from Georgia, North Carolina, even Maryland, etc. As well as people that were just in Alabama. Like a lot of us, fam. That's why this story is important. That's why this church is important, because a lot of us can unfold our stories through that one church. And as a matter of fact, through the Gullah Geechee culture. When you take a big step back and recognize the Gullah Geechee culture in and of itself is a repository for the different cultures that came through the slave ports. You recognize, wow, we really need to slow this thing down, because if we're going to find Hebrew culture out of all the different West African cultures that came through, we're going to find it there, fam, because it was most documented there. Most documented there. And so if I find somebody writing Arabic about an Israelite practice in West Africa, that can be corroborated by other West African sources that are also in Arabic, why should I throw that away? Because somebody feels uncomfortable. So I'm going to do the brotherly thing. I'm going to recognize people are feeling uncomfortable. People are feeling triggered. And I'm going to choose to believe that they're doing so through a lack of information and not a lack of integrity. And so what I'm going to do very simply is I'm going to walk back through every allegation and very plainly show without emotion that I didn't do anything I'm being accused of. And then I'm going to talk to my brothers publicly about why getting this information straight is so correct, and what can be done with this information. Hopefully like in a if you build it, they will come kind of a thing, right? So I'm going to have the conversation real slow, because there's been accusations like, oh, people trying to say that everyone there was an Arab Muslim. No one's ever even said that at all. The people who were documentable Muslims, I've talked about being Muslims before, but I've never made the claim that the people at First African Baptist Church are Muslim, nor did the PBS documentary. So that needs to be understood, because the counter narrative got put into another public documentary that went out to our people. So there's this whole fight between PBS and our people that's going on that don't even need to happen at all. And when you really understand the thing, PBS actually gave us a nugget to go prove our story with, if you understand where to look and how to look. And Boubacar Diakite actually gave everybody the key when he said they might not have been Muslims when the people who wrote this, the Arabic type of writing, whom Professor Youssef said when asked that he assumed that what was meant was Arabic calligraphy. So now let me move on to this Professor Youssef thing real quick, and just keep it real short and plain. I did not dox Professor Youssef. I went out of my way not to. I introduced redacted information. The only information I left unredacted had to do with his credentials. I left that information unredacted because there were claims upon his credentials that were false. So I'm going to say right here, right now, that Majors misrepresented Professor Youssef's credentials. And it's very plain and very obvious to see. Now, I'm going to choose to say at this juncture that he did so out of a lack of information and not out of a lack of integrity. I'm going to make that choice. So I'm going to show information that proves that I did not dox the professor. That I did not dox the professor in any way, shape, or form. But now this does not mean I'm attacking majors or I'm attacking anybody. Right now I'm saying I forgive them for making the false claim because I'm saying I believe they made the false claim out of a lack of information. Now, I tried to go clear this up last night because after 2 episodes of hearing the claim of me doxing somebody, I saw the StreamYard link in Kelly's chat. I hit the link. In less than 2 minutes, I'm booted off from the backstage. Now, I personally think that was bad form. You're talking about me all day. You should at least let me come on and we should be able to dialogue and build. If I can dialogue and build with Abu, Elder Mike, Alton, Garfield, Taya, Yakoba, Dante, Sister, again, me and Kelly have been on plenty of platforms together. Like we interviewed To the Parfait together with Sister E, etc. We've been on Sister E's show a few times together. No, there's never been a beef. Never been a beef. Taya and Cobra came on my show cussing and tripping and whatnot. Did you see me wild out? No. I don't get on camera to wild out. I get on camera to try to put out the best information possible for our community. Period. That's it. That's it. This ain't a clout chasing thing for me. Trust me, if it was clout chasing, I'd do this a whole different way. If I was clout chasing, right, what I would not be doing is putting myself in a position to where trying to uphold integrity makes it seem like I'm buddy in secret cohorts with Catholics and atheists and all kind of stuff against Israelites and whatnot. Like trying to hold my community accountable is not how you go about cloud chasing, fam. Nobody likes being held accountable. It ain't comfortable. Right now, my community they prefer to hear good news about their bad habits. Right now, my community wants a confirmation bias. That's not me. Please understand that's not me. The closest people to me will tell you, don't ask me for my opinion unless you really, really, really want an honest opinion. I'm not going to sugarcoat things for you, fam. That ain't going to be me. Not at all. I'm going to be the one to tell you, yeah, most of us aren't Portuguese Jews. I'm going to be the one to tell you, yeah, it's not plausible. I'm not going to find it plausible that Sephardic cursive made its way to pews in an area where the Sephardic Jews weren't even using Sephardic cursive. To me, that's just not plausible. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that would make more sense than Arabic being on the pews anywhere. Not all the pews, at least I'm talking about just one pew. One pew. Because you can go back over my previous videos and see where I'm talking about multiple pews with different concepts on multiple pews, right? Including where I'm saying I think where there's Hebrew on the pews. including that. That's all out there. That's all out there. But again, so I really need the slow conversation, family. I'm asking Benai, I'm asking Majors, I'm asking Kelly, break this down to me. Why is it more plausible that cursive Hebrew made it on the pews in First African Baptist Church? But like, so for instance, if I go to Mikveh Israel, they don't have cursive Sephardic Hebrew there. They came over with the Torah. They came over with the circumcision box, and they didn't come over with Sephardic Hebrew. They didn't come over with cursive Sephardic Hebrew, excuse me. So they didn't get it. But an Ashkenazi mulatto somehow magically got it and then taught it to the people in First African Baptist Church. So what I'm supposed to believe is we didn't come off the slave ships with Solotreo. But one lone Ashkenazi mulatto somehow knew it where the other Sephardic Jews in the area didn't know it. Didn't know it. And there's no documentation of them knowing. Now, I'm supposed to believe that's more plausible than people in First African Baptist Church in Savannah. Not all of them, some of them being literate in Arabic at some point in time. Even though it's documentable in Savannah, you have slaves writing Arabic in the Gullah dialect of English, writing the Gospel of John in Savannah, Georgia. We can see Bilal Ali Muhammad in Sapelo Island writing the Risalah, writing a documented manuscript about Islam, about how he practices Islam and whatnot. So we see the full dichotomy just right there in Georgia between people who are Muslim and non-Muslim using Arabic. So I've been going for an hour. I'm going to shut this down real quick, fam. I'm going to show a couple of quick things, quick video now, some quick screenshots right quick. I'm going to show them again tomorrow. I'm going to go more in on that part. But I want to just lay this predicate, fam, as to why it's important to slow this down. And why this last year has been a wasted conversation, fam. And it's been sad. It's been sad because I'm hearing people like Garfield say, like, yeah, why? Who came off the slave ship practicing what? And we could have been smashed this argument together, fam. We all could have been smashed this argument together. And instead of doing it now, I might have to spend the next full year explaining how it can be done instead of just doing it. But hopefully it won't take a year, because hopefully we can understand, A, I'm not guilty what I'm being accused of, and B, you know what? I'm not gonna go on a rampage on the people accusing me. I'm gonna try to hold them by the hand and give them better information. Walk them into better information, because that's what I would want if I was them. That's what I would want. So real quick, I'm going to play a clip of me trying to actually go clear my name and make peace with the brothers live on air, and asking a couple of questions just to clarify some things. But here we go.
Right? right? Here's another one. Uh-oh. Wait a minute, because what does that look like? What does that look like, family? What does that look like? What does that look like? Bishop Brown, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. I got your music. Little noise over
Okay.
there, baby.
Now you saw how I shared some of the different ways of writing the tav or the tha in ancient Hebrew, right? And notice what's on the screen, right? I'll show some of the letters, the different ways of writing it. These are some of the different ways of writing the tav, right? There's different ways of writing it. Of course, on the main charts that you probably come across, you want to see you'll see this right here. But guess what? There's multiple charts. There's multiple ways of writing the tav. I'm just using this as an example, right? Now, doesn't that look like similar to what you see on the pew?
Absolutely.
So, family, I'm going to stop right here because I could share more, but I'm going to stop right here. But I just want to give you a sample of seeing more on the pews, right? You know, I'm going to.
So when the screen went white right there, that's when they booted me off, right? So I got a screenshot up right now of me having typed something in the private chat that they were able to see. Right? I'm gonna play the video one more time, and then I'm gonna go through what I wrote in the private chat.
Right? Right? Here's another one. Uh-oh. Wait a minute, because what does that look like? What does that look like, family? What does that look like? What does that look like? Bishop Brown, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. I got your music. Little noise over
Okay.
there, baby.
Now you saw how I shared some of the different ways of writing the tav or the tha in ancient Hebrew, right? And notice what's on the screen, right? I'll show some of the letters, the different ways of writing it. These are some of the different ways of writing the tav, right? There's different ways of writing it. Of course, on the main charts that you probably come across, you want to see you'll see this right here. But guess what? There's multiple charts. There's multiple ways of writing the tav. I'm just using this as an example, right? Now, doesn't that look like similar to what you see on the pew?
Absolutely.
So, family, I'm going to stop right here because I could share more, but I'm going to stop right here. But I just want to give you a sample of seeing more on the pews, right? You know, I'm going to.
So again, you can see right before I got kicked, I put something in the private chat. And so this is the questions I put in the private chat. It says, when did I say Professor Youssef didn't know Arabic? And what personal information of his did I dox? Now, those are very sincere questions. That's not me being belligerent. I'm not talking crazy to nobody. I'm asking the questions about what I'm being accused of. All throughout that episode, I'm saying he didn't know Arabic. That I tried to disprove him being a scholar of some sort, trying to discredit his scholarship, etc. And then I doxed him. So let's get into that, fam. Let us get into that. I'm not going to make this too long because, like I said, it's already been past an hour. But let's get to this. So these are the claims that were made. Let me make this full screen for y'all. These were the claims that were made during the past couple episodes, just about my contact with the professor, etc. Right? They claimed I doxed Professor Youssef's personal info. They claimed I said he didn't know Arabic and had no degree. They claimed I tried to discredit him as a scholar. They accused me of harassing other scholars. In fact, I redacted Professor Youssef's personal info. I showed I believed he had an undergraduate degree in Arabic. I never discredited the professor. I said he was misrepresented by Kelly and by majors, etc. I specifically said that majors gave him a false premise to comment on, and then misrepresented even the answer given with the false premise. So again, I didn't try to discredit the professor. I said he was misrepresented. I never harassed any scholar. I brought more scholars to the table, and this is documentable. Documentable. So really quickly, just to go through this, because it just takes a couple of screenshots just to clear this up, right? So again, here's a screenshot of me asking the question: when did I say Professor Youssef didn't know Arabic, and what personal information of his did I dox? Now, so again, Pastor Kelly has my personal phone number. He saw behind closed doors that I sent this message directly to them. Him and majors could both see this private message, this private chat. They're the only ones that could see it, or anyone else that was in backstage. I don't know who was backstage, because, well, for people who don't know about StreamYard, if you're backstage, you can't see who else is back there. You can only see who's on the panel. So anyone else who was backstage saw that I wrote that too. But from then to now, from then to this morning, like, I'm West Coast, they're East Coast. Like, so this morning I made a video at 10, or I put up a post at 10, a community post about showing these pictures here. I made a video at 1 o'clock my time talking about it, right? From last night till then, nothing from Kelly answering these questions in a private format, in any way, shape, or form, about where I said Professor Youssef didn't know Arabic, and where I said where I doxed him. Now, what I specifically said was that he was not a professor or linguist of Ajami as advertised. As advertised. Again, this is me saying that I got kicked out of the chat, or kicked out of the back chat. Y'all can see that there. And again, I want this to be clear, fam. There was something said about, like, it took a year to track down the No, it literally took me less than an hour, right? Because it's not hard to do stuff like that at all. I literally just typed in information that y'all had in your interview. Why did I track him down? Because it took me a year to actually watch this documentary. I didn't know that there was a defense made against the PBS documentary in this documentary. So, quick disclaimer, fam. Go check out the Reclaiming the Throne documentary. Go check out, go rent the movie, go buy the movie. If you want to buy the movie. I personally recommend the second episode. That's my favorite one. I really like that one. I think that's the most scholastic out of all three. But in episode 1 and episode 3, you have talk about the pews. And you have an appearance by by Kelly Benign Majors, etc. whatnot, right? So I want to be clear. My taking issue with the information that they provided to the documentary is not me attacking the documentary. Just understand that. That's what I'm saying. I don't advocate a boycott of the documentary in any way, shape, or form. I've said that in previous videos. I advocate people going to rent the documentary at the very least to go verify what I'm saying. At the very least. But again, in that documentary is a defense, and this is again what I keep saying I don't understand, is a needless defense of things that were said in the PBS documentary. Like I said, disclaimer, I will be doing a full breakdown of each portion of the documentary where the pews are talked about, just to slowly break down what I'm saying. I'm not going to do that here, though. Again, this is not a shot at the documentary in any way, shape, or form. I'm not calling for a boycott of the documentary. I am asking that you go rent the documentary and verify my claims. I really liked parts of the second episode, as I said. But like I said, as advertised, Professor Youssef was advertised as a professor and linguist of Arabic, French, Farsi, Ajami, and more. He was advertised as a super linguist, as a super professor and linguist of Arabic, French, Farsi, Ajami, and more. So he's supposed to be a professor and linguist of at least 4 and more languages. One of those, and scripts at that, one of those being Ajami. Because Ajami is not a language. Ajami is it's Arabic language, West African Arabic used to write West African languages. But again, he's being passed off as a professor and linguist of all of these. All of these. And that's not what he says himself. Professor Youssef does not say that himself. Real quick, I was also accused of putting his name out there first. They said they changed his name. They didn't change his name. They called him Professor Youssef the whole time. If they want to say taking out a U or taking out an S was changing his name, okay, you call him Professor Youssef. So, come on, fam. Let's get realistic about the thing. So let's say I'm going to be charitable here. Let's say Majors did not mean to write professor and linguist of all these things. Maybe he meant to say professor of Arabic and someone who's familiar with all these other languages, right? Because Professor Youssef himself does not say he's a linguist of Farsi or Ajami. He says he can't tell you what the Ajami is. He says, I can read the Arabic script like I can tell you what the Arabic is. I can't tell you what the Ajami is saying. He's saying he can read Farsi in terms of like he can identify the Arabic script, but he can't tell you what it's saying because it's Arabic script used to write a Persian language. Ajami, again, Arabic script used to write a West African language, etc. Even he's saying you're gonna need someone who can identify the Arabic and someone who can identify the language that the Arabic is writing. You got to decode both. That's what Professor Youssef said. So I want people to see that this right here is from an interview from March 19th, 2021. This is the part 1. This is a short clip going into the big one, right? And look at this, right? I had a chance to sit down with an outstanding Arabic linguist and discuss different Arabic scripts, calligraphy, etc., right? So maybe he just meant to say Arabic linguist and he didn't mean to write it like this. That's very possible. Because this way makes it seem like he's a professor and linguist of all these languages here. But maybe he did mean to write it that way. Only he can clarify that. But what I do know is that Professor Youssef clarified that he is not such. that he is not such. And in the clip that they showed of him talking, it's the same clip that I showed. The only thing they didn't do is play his credentials backwards. That was it. Now, this is the part I don't get. So again, this is how they presented him to the world, right? As Professor Youssef. So they're claiming that I put his name out first and I didn't. That's his first name, fam. I don't know what to tell you on that, right? But what they, and I'll show you here. This is how I presented him to the world, right? I redacted his personal information. What I kept was his credentials, his education, and where he got it. Look at it. I want you to see. Go check that. I redacted all that. And if you believe me to be dishonest, please go back to the videos. I don't take anything down. Please go back to the videos where I show this slide. And if there's more information that I leave unredacted, please let the world know. But I redacted all this information. No last name, no email, no phone. I don't give you the college he works at or anything. In the video of the lecture he gave, I made sure to edit out the parts that identify the college. I try hard not to redact. I try hard to redact the information and not to dox it. Now, this is what I don't get. So I'm being accused of doxing it. And they actually dox him. In the same video where they're saying that they're accusing me of doxing him, they put out his first name, his last name, and then they give out his university and state of residence. I didn't do any of that. I didn't do any of that. I redacted all of that information right there that they have on the screen. Watch. Again, you can read this yourself. Mr. Youssef Salihi is a lecturer of Arabic. He received his BA in sociolinguistics from Hassan University in Casablanca, etc. Right? Same information. What I have redacted, they leave unredacted. Again, they give you his first name, last name, and his current university. I didn't do that. Show me where I did that. So I did not dox his personal information. What I did do is I put out his credentials to show he is not a linguist of Ajami, Farsi, etc. That he has no degrees in such. No degrees in such. Again, they have him on here explaining his credentials to a live audience. They said this is to a live audience. Nowhere did I do this. Nowhere did I do this. So while accusing me of doxing the man, they doxed the man. While accusing me of doxing the man, they doxed the man. I went out of my way not to dox the man. Now, the first time I found him off of just information they said in his interview. It wasn't too hard. It really wasn't. And it wasn't hard to redact the information. There was no need for them to show this information at all. Other than to say, well, yeah, like the Moore was right. He's a sociolinguist. That's, to me, that's sad, fam. Like there was no need to dox this man. In fact, tomorrow I'm going to go more so into what linguistics are, right? Because I also contacted a sociolinguist. I, again, didn't harass the sociolinguist. I contacted one, and we had a cordial dialogue, just like Abu had with Professor Bunis, etc. Yeah, I'm about to make everybody mad because I'm definitely going to make a video about the fact that no one got bullied. No one got bullied. So this is what I do whenever I talk to any of the professors or any scholar I talk to about this stuff. I let them know my actual background. I let them know that I descend from North Africans, West Africans, North African Jews, West African Muslims, etc. I let them know that what my connection to the question is. I got no issue doing so. None whatsoever. So when Bunis said, yeah, Bunis found out that people were Israelites and didn't want to deal with them. Okay. That's nobody bullying Bunis. That's nobody bullying Bunis. And if you're going to claim that I or anyone else bullied a scholar, please, you got to show evidence of something like that. And if you can't show evidence of it, all right, back off the thing, man. Because as Israelites, we can't bear false witness in public like that, fam. We got to be we have to be an example for those coming after us and those observing us. Here, all eyes gaze on us. And while they gaze, it's our obligation to be a light to the world. So we can't be coming out here just throwing all kind of false accusations out in the public about non-Israelites and Israelites alike. That's not going to work, fam. That's not going to work. So it's obvious I didn't dox the professor. I didn't come out with his first name first. None of that. I went out of my way to redact said information. So hopefully this part can get cleared up. This is real simple to clear up. This is a simple, my bad. Don't got to be anything more than that. It really don't. And then we can go into the other issues. And fam, I plan on clearing them up one by one. Because there's a lot being said. And it's a shame that this conversation is happening versus what we could have been talking about. And for those who know me behind the scenes, they know what I'm talking about. They know what I'm talking about. Because right now, my people can't see the forest for the trees. We are hovering over a gold mine. And aren't willing to mine the gold. It's crazy to me. It's crazy to me. So I'm going to put this out here right here, just end it right now, because it's been going on for a minute, you know what I'm saying? Did these questions get answered in the past couple episodes of this blatant liars crafty counsel concept? Who doxed Professor Youssef? It was the Good Doctors channel. That's verifiable at this juncture. So, as a community, this is me making my case to the community, right? To the ecclesia and whatnot, right? Can we please stop accusing the more doxing Professor Youssef? Because the more didn't do it. Is Professor Youssef a professor and linguist of Ajami? No, he is not. And nowhere do his credentials suggest such. Is he a professor and linguist of Farsi? No, he is not. No, he is not. Did he say he thought Arabic type of writing meant Arabic calligraphy? Yes, he did, 100%. And you can go on Benaya's channel and see that. You can go on Kelly's channel and see that. You can go on Major's channel and see that. You can rent the documentary Reclaiming the Throne and see that in the 3rd episode. In fact, I'll close out by playing the clip. I will close out by playing the clip. Y'all can make up your minds for yourself. Did he say that Arabic does not always connect? Yes, he did. And unfortunately, in the documentary, it was attempted to get passed off as if he's saying that it always has to connect. And that's not what he said. He specifically even said there's 6 letters that don't connect. And in his email back illustrated where Arabic does not always connect. Did he say verses from the Quran would be written on important artifacts? Yes, he did. And this is where it gets important because he was fed a false narrative. He was fed a narrative that stipulated that Abu thought that the title of the surah, the name of the surah, was written on the pews and not a verse from the surah. And so when given that false hypothetical, Professor Youssef said, no, that's not how it works. But he was not given the proper premise of, no. He's saying it's a verse, not the name of the surah. And when understanding that, understand Professor Youssef actually confirmed the concept that a verse would be written on something important. A verse or verses. So, all right, fam. We've been here for an hour and a half. I appreciate you for your time. Like I said, I'm going to rehash this tomorrow. I'm going to get into the facts tomorrow. I had to get into a backstory for most of this. I apologize for the long pre-story. I wish this could be like a short, quick, simple, sweet conversation. But people, like, it takes time to diffuse the emotion from the thing, right? Unfortunately, it takes some time and some energy. Going forward, I hope people can understand I'm not attacking nobody. I'm unfairly being attacked. And you know what? I'm not even going to take that one personal. I'm going to take that one on the chin for the community and be like, you know what? Let me improve the information right quick. Because like I said previously with Majors, right? So here's something I will not change. I know for a fact that cats is not real, right? And I'm not even mad at Majors and them about that, right? Am I hoping that they come to the table and repent? 100%. 100%. But at this juncture, I'm not even going to press that. That's between them and God right now, right? But like I told them in this situation, I couldn't accept cats to be real if they couldn't supply some scholastic proof to such, right? Not him personally coming out, not like an interview, not him coming out on video, not a phone call. I just need a scholastic proof, right? And if I couldn't get it, I knew he wasn't real. Same thing here. If I can take the high road and supply better information and it gets slapped out of my hand again, I know what it is. I know people aren't being sincere about the thing. And I really hope that's not the case. But with that, family, I appreciate y'all for coming through. I know it's late somewhere. But yeah, I know some people are wanting the Pew thing to go away. Nah, this ain't going away no time soon. And you need to understand why. Once you understand why it ain't going away no time soon, you're going to be grateful that the conversation never stopped. So with that, I appreciate you for your time. Leave your thoughts and comments below. I will do my best to get back to all of them. And with that, I say peace and love.
I like the way this feel, yeah. Let my soul cry, yeah. Minister. We gonna speak from the heart on this one. I'm performing lyrical funerals, no obituary. I killed your boy and brought him back to life. Pet cemetery. My anointing not based on attendance at a seminary. Scarlet witches, they attracted to the visionary. Everywhere I go, I bring the word with me, missionary. Soldier drafted in the war machine, military. Pay attention, what I'm saying to you, legendary. You got the demeanor of a front desk secretary. That mean you take the calls, but you don't make the calls. That's why you hate, cause ain't nothing fake about me at all. Now I dare you try to say that with a straight face. My delivery in tip-top, great shape. I'm too advanced for you, light years, space age. No evolution for you cavemen, stone age. I'm a thoroughbred, rock solid. I came from the bottom to the top, rock climbing. I grew up in the hood, pros and cons. That's that full court pressure when the amalanche roll out the stretch. Why can't you see it's not logical? And you live diabolical. Boy, your point of view smaller than the hair follicle molecule. This for all of them that follow you, smoking all of them barbecue. When I pull up, your voice on correct itself with no auto-tune. I got a whole nother level that I can enter whenever I gotta deal with the devil. I pick a whole nother method. I hear a whole lot of yapping. They wanna see my reaction. Really out here in the community making it happen. I don't really think they understand the dilemma. They ain't looking in the man in the mirror. I can't say it in the clearer. The plan is very simple. It's time to start playing in the temple. Before somebody come and put the can on your temple. Reaching like a baby with his hand for the nipple. The Grand Reaper coming with his hand on the sickle. In the van coming with a ram with it, with the van coming get him. I am so glad that I changed up. Made it out of where I came from. Watch for the slide and the hook of the slow ball, fastball, and that change up. That ghetto lifestyle, it changed us. Go back to visit, it ain't changed much. Only difference is now the way that my brain process information. And Satan, but after my license, day one, let me say something. Only reason that I'm still alive today because God's grace is amazing. Just another raisin in the sun. Dream deferred when things occur. Now you getting served right on the curb like a lemonade stand. I just gave you the benediction, let the whole church say amen.